Throughout history, there have been businesses that seem to survive any situation, no matter how bad. I'm going to talk to you about some of the types of businesses that survive in historically bad economies and maybe some opportunities that you can take from that right after this. Welcome back. I'm Russ Siegel, Executive Director of the Sequoia Fund. I want to talk to you today about some businesses that just seem to keep on trucking no matter what the economy. It almost feels like 2020 should be a curse word these days. I mean, as we speak, not only are we in the middle of a pandemic, but we have two major hurricanes, tropical storms galore bearing down on us. Now, why they didn't name them Marco and Polo that's a topic for another day. It would have been way too cool to do that, but I know they have to do this in alphabetical order. It must be a rule. But yeah, 2020 is almost curse worthy these days. Like, I can't believe this 2020, that kind of thing. Well, when we look around at businesses that survive and businesses that don't survive, there are some common themes. Now, some businesses that don't survive simply don't make it because of poor management, poor preparation. They were just not prepared to deal with this kind of event. A lot of businesses, quite frankly, were on death's door before the pandemic. They were fundamentally weak. They were financially weak. And they just needed a little push over the edge. That's unfortunate, but it's true. Historically, there are businesses, though, that make it no matter what. So let's talk about some businesses and some industries that seem to be thriving right now and some trends that we can look for in the future. I believe that the best way out of whatever financial mess we're in, whatever economic mess we find ourselves in, is entrepreneurship. It is that group of people willing to take a risk, willing to step out and say, there are problems that I'm going to solve. There are needs that I'm going to fill. I'm going to figure out a way to get this done and capitalize on this opportunity. It's always been that way. And I think it will always be that way, that the entrepreneurs among us will be the ones to kind of pull us out of this mire. So the first industry or the first business sector that I want to talk about are businesses, obviously, that keep us safe and healthy, what we might call essential worker businesses. Businesses like healthcare, pharmaceuticals. But we also have businesses that fall into this category that we wouldn't normally classify as healthcare related businesses. Cleaning services. No longer can a cleaning service get by dusting, vacuuming, doing the dishes, cleaning the drapes and the windows. Today, a cleaning service must be about sanitation. So if you find an opportunity to start a cleaning business for offices, for commercial spaces, even for homes where maybe there are vulnerable people that need to have those homes sanitized, steam cleaned, etc., that might be an opportunity. Delivery services fall into that category because delivery services now give us a way to access the things we need without having to access the places where they come from. Domino's comes to mind because they were really the pioneer in fast pizza delivery. In fact, pizza is the number one delivered item in the world. And there's a reason for that. It's simple. You can put a lot of pizzas in a car. You can deliver a lot of pizzas in a very short amount of time in a geographic area. And they don't cost a lot to make. a $17 to $25 pizza doesn't have a lot of dollars in the ingredients. And so it's worth it to take those out. Now, I wouldn't want to deliver a steak dinner from Ruth's Chris. That might get a little pricier and a little less attractive. It could be done. But delivery services now, even Domino's, the originator, or one of the originators, is now doing contactless delivery to your car. So you can pull up to one of their restaurants and they will bring the pizza out to your car. Again, it's just a way to separate themselves from what everybody else is doing and say, look, we're gonna bring you this pizza. We're gonna put it in your car, and it's safe. E-commerce retailers, and of course, the big kid on the block is Amazon. But there are a lot of online retailers now that are giving us a way to access things that we would normally have to go to the store for. They're thriving. They're doing really well. Now, if you have a brick and mortar store, you are competing against those online retailers. There was a time, maybe even a year ago, where you could make the argument that most of your competitors were down the street. Most of your competitors were not online. Now, you're competing online, whether you're there or not. That's who you're competing with. Along the same line as delivery and e-commerce is online grocers. Grocery stores now have taken up the mantle of home delivery. You also find companies that are doing what's called last mile delivery. In other words, you have freight, you have furniture, you have something that you would normally drive to a big city to get. That furniture is coming in on a truck that won't make it up your little mountain road. It just won't get to you. And there are companies now that are specializing in that last mile delivery, where they will take it off of an 18-wheeler, maybe in a convenience store parking lot or a Walmart parking lot or a grocery store parking lot. They're going to load it on a smaller truck. They're going to take it in. They're going to set it up. And again, that's done in a very safe, socially distanced way, sanitized way. That's an opportunity. Another industry or industry segment that I think we need to pay attention to are businesses that feed us. You know, right after the pandemic began, we started to see what are called artificial shortages. Anytime people have a run on gasoline, paper products, toilet paper, especially now, for those of you who hoarded toilet paper, how you doing out there? People who hoard those things for fear of what might happen in the future cause artificial shortages. It doesn't mean that there's no more toilet paper and that we're all going to have to be using leaves and sticks. It's just a temporary thing. And so food shortages in grocery stores, our food supplies are still strong, but we are noticing things happening within our food supplies. Now, early on, I was having conversations about this with some people, and they said, well, why are we having beef shortages? Why are we having shortages of this or that? People still have to eat. But keep in mind that we took a food industry where people could go to farmers markets, grocery stores, fast food retailers, dine-in restaurants, home delivery. There was a lot of different ways. Think about school lunches, breakfasts, universities. Well, when you take those out of the equation, when you take universities and you shut them down, when you shut down schools, you shut down restaurants, you take that delivery mechanism out of the market, what it does is it forces everybody into the grocery stores. But a lot of that food is not designed to go to grocery stores. It's designed in bulk. Some of you've taken advantage of some of the chicken sales and things like that, where farms and companies are selling bulk items. They don't want that stuff to go bad. There's no place to store it. Chickens grow, cattle grows, it gets slaughtered, and it has to go somewhere. And so same thing with bacon. In other words, we've gone from a lot of different options for people to get food to a very few options. And the food that was meant for those other channels is not designed for grocery distribution. And so it has to go somewhere. So we found artificial shortages there. But let's look at some opportunities during COVID for businesses that feed us. One, meal prep services. It seems like people are busier now than they were when they were working in offices, especially if they're working from home. They may find that there is no off switch. I'm working from home, and a lot of times I find myself working into the night because I'm on a roll. I feel the momentum. I forget to eat sometimes. Uh, Hard to believe, I know. Uh, but Blue Apron, the pioneer of home delivered meal prep kits, was almost bankrupt. COVID-19 actually saved that company and others like it. It was costing them about $140 just to acquire a new customer. That's a little bit more than the average of 2 weeks worth of groceries from that company. So people who would get a free box, try it out, and then cancel the service were costing that company money. Well, then people realized, I can't get this food at the grocery store. I need to be at home with the kids. I don't have time to go shopping. So let's have this stuff delivered. Meal prep kits were great. We also found that prepared meals are making a surge. Because people are busy, because people are trying to figure out this new normal. They're trying to figure out how to get things done with the kids at home, part of the time at school, part of the time vacations were disrupted, work lives were disrupted. Companies that were able to prepare meals, freeze those meals, flash freeze those, and sell them as a fully cooked option that's ready to be reheated. Boy, that kind of convenience is hard to beat. So meal prep delivery in all of its forms has had a huge surge. Wine and liquor stores. Yes, wine and liquor saw a huge surge in retail sales right after the pandemic began. And people thought, well, the wine and liquor business is going to be fine. But when you go into a store and you buy 1 or 2 bottles versus the bar down the street buying 3 or 4 cases, again, we're going to find that our service is disrupted, delivery channels are disrupted, but wine and liquor stores, again, are steady. They're steady. Grocery stores, obviously, still steady. A lot of things are still blown out. A lot of shelves are empty. A lot of grocery stores are limiting quantities to try to preserve that. But home canning has exploded. You cannot find jars, lids, rings anywhere. Canning supplies have just been completely blown out because people realized, I can stay home, I can grow my garden, and I can can my own food. If there is one silver lining to this pandemic, is that it occurred when it did. It happened in March. It hit us big time in March. That's when everything came to a halt. And so we look at when things get planted, at least people had an opportunity to get plants in the ground, to get their crops in the ground and start doing this. Well, now it's time to start canning things. But canning and jarred goods have hit a huge surge. You cannot buy a freezer. Same thing with freezer. People have realized that they're going to have a freezer to keep all of those home canned goods. And so freezers they're tough to find. So if you have freezer capacity, could you rent some of that freezer capacity to a neighbor? Could you, if you have extra freezer capacity, could you do some neighborhood freezer storage for folks? The entire cooler supply chain there has just been disrupted. Even restaurants are finding it difficult. Farmers markets, grocery stores, they're finding it difficult to get this big cooling equipment. Something that has had a surge in businesses that feed us is something called dark kitchens. Dark kitchens are restaurants that realize they cannot seat people. They didn't ramp up quick enough to do takeout. Maybe they're not in a location where they could do takeout. Maybe they're not in a place where drive-through is a possibility. So here comes this concept of dark kitchens where they're still cooking. They're making those meal prep kits. They're making those prepared meals, freezing them, putting them together, and people come in and buy in bulk. A lot of those businesses also realize that if they can buy chicken and you can't, or they can buy beef and you can't because of the way food is packaged, that they can get that food in, they can repackage it, and they can sell you flour, milk, butter, all of the essentials that you would normally buy. Restaurants have become grocery stores in some ways. But those dark kitchens will not go away. That's an opportunity for restaurants now, that when they start cooking for people who are in the restaurant, they can still continue to do the home prep meals. So that is another silver lining to this, that they have that option. That's not going to go away. Another sector is businesses that entertain and educate us. And today, the line between entertainment and education is blurrier than ever. Those two things overlap. In fact, we have realized, by the kids being at home and having to be educated over Zoom or some other platform, Google Meet, when they're sitting there staring at the computer, there's got to be some entertainment element. There's got to be something there that keeps kids glued to that. Adults too. The average adult learner can only sit still and absorb information for 9 minutes at a time. 9 minutes. Think about how long I've already been talking. So we've got to figure out ways to bring entertainment and education together. That is a huge opportunity. Drive-in theaters are making a comeback. I heard that Metallica is doing a one-night only concert, and they're broadcasting it to drive-in theaters all across the country. That's huge, because they have a built-in audience. They have fans who want to see them. Drive-in theaters are making a resurgence. Both drive-in theaters that have been there for a long time, as well as pop-up drive-in theaters. So this is a great way to get their music out to their fans and give people that communal experience. Video game sales are off the charts. Again, kids have to have something to do. If they can't go down the street and play with their friends, they can at least get online. They can game with the other kids who are their friends. They can engage in virtual reality. Home entertainment has just seen an explosion. We still pay money. We want to pay money. Not that we can. We want to pay money to go to a movie, because there's a shared experience there that we don't get at home. When we see a great action adventure movie or a love story or something funny, a great comedy, it's fun to laugh together, to ooh and ah together. It's important that we have that group experience. We are hardwired. We're hardwired as human beings to be social. And so home entertainment lacks that group experience. So entertainment industry will come back. It's going to be a little bit lagging. It's going to be a little bit longer before the entertainment industry comes back, not just movies, but also live entertainment, Broadway, musicals, plays, those kinds of things, even down to the high school level. It's going to be tough to get that many people in one room in the near future. Businesses that connect us are super important right now. I want to talk about businesses that connect us. I want to talk about those when we come back. It seems like we're all living on social media platforms these days. Some of us get our news from Twitter. We get our entertainment from Instagram or some other platform. We stay connected with our family on Facebook. And so social media has exploded. Now, where's the opportunity in that? Think about the person down the street from you who owns a business. Are they engaged in social media? If you have become something of a social media guru around the house, you've started doing really cool videos or posting some things, maybe making TikTok videos and so forth. You're doing some things that are really cool. How could you help local businesses do those? TikTok now has a business aspect too, TikTok for business. So that's something I'm not familiar with, but if you are, maybe that's something that you could see as an opportunity to help local businesses tap into a younger market with those types of videos. But social media is here to stay. It's going to be an opportunity in some form or another. E-learning and digital content providers. This is going to be here forever too. You know, this was a long ramp. I remember 20 years ago, we talked about e-learning, digital classrooms, distance learning, I think is what it was originally called, because we didn't all have to be in the same room to experience the same education. But it's here now. The technology is really, really good. When you're sitting around watching television and you're vegging out, could you be using that time online to be learning something, learning a skill, learning a trade? One of our clients at Sequoia Fund called us several years ago and said that he had been out of work for a while and he watched every YouTube video there was on coding, on HTML, HTML5, WordPress, and he became a website designer. And he got a free education from YouTube. Could you do that? Yeah, you could. Broadband services. I think we're seeing a lot of cities, a lot of counties, especially in rural areas, figuring out ways to bring broadband to that, what's called the last mile. How do we get broadband into the homes? Because we're now at a point where kids have to have access to it. It is critical to our educational system now that broadband services be available. I'm not suggesting that you run out and start a high-speed internet company, but just be aware that this is a crucial part of everything we're talking about right now. A lot of, I would say 90% of everything I've just mentioned either could not be done without broadband access, or broadband access makes it better, quicker, faster, more accessible, friendlier, easier to get to. You name it. Whatever term you want to use, broadband is the foundation for that. Virtual meetings. How many virtual meetings have you been involved in that just stink? They're so boring that you're playing on your phone, you're trying to do something else just to stay awake, or you're turning off your video so you can take a nap and hope nobody asks you a question. Could you do it better? Could you produce virtual meetings for others? Could you produce virtual meetings for companies or small businesses? Could you help them connect with other businesses, with suppliers, with their employees? Virtual event production services are an opportunity. Every single conference since February that we had planned to attend has been canceled. In fact, a lot of those same conferences are now starting to cancel into 2021. Doesn't mean they're going away. Doesn't mean they're not going to hold those conferences. It just means that they are going virtual. They're going virtual because it is their only option right now. So how can you get involved in that? If you are technically adept, if you have some knowledge in that, if you're a video producer or a videographer, if you're a photographer, if you are a sound technician, how can you get involved in the production of digital events? And digital events are going to take all forms. We used to think of digital events as just meetings, seminars, educational. Any live event that you once attended in person can now be done digitally. It can all be done virtually. There are no limits. We're starting to see 3D imagery used. In fact, I think Michael Jackson did a concert, a 3D concert after his death. So yeah, it's possible. Now, there are businesses that are going to survive because they've always survived. This is something called the Lindy effect, Lindy. The Lindy effect is the concept that things that have been around for a long time tend to be around for a long time. And so when a business that's been a staple in a community for decades goes out of business, it's a shock because we just expected that business to always be there. But there are types of businesses that will always be there. And no matter how bad the economy gets, the DIY, do it yourself, and repair businesses will thrive. People realize that things cost money, and if they're in short supply, they can't be easily replaced. Can you fix it? If you have some technical abilities, if you can put things together, a lot of things that are being shipped today, the desk that I'm working on right now took about an hour and a half to put together. I fortunately was able to do this after people went to bed and I had the time to do it. But could you be the some assembly required person? Could you be the one who goes into people's homes and puts together these things? People are realizing that things are cheaper to be fixed these days than to be replaced. And even if they wanted to replace it, they can't. They can't find it. So look at those two industries. See what you can do to help people repair that lawnmower engine, that motorcycle engine, that car that they just need to keep. Maybe they were thinking about trading a car. They were going to trade up to a 2021 model this year, and they just can't do it. If you can help those people do that, then you have an opportunity. Since the Great Depression and every recession since, we have noticed three trends that I mentioned last week, and these trends hold true. People are going to eat well, they're going to look good, and they're going to have fun. They're going to be entertained. So if you can find a nexus between two or all three of those things, can you help people? Can you serve them good food while they're getting their hair styled? I don't know. But let's try to think about ways that we can connect with the things that people desire the most, even in the worst economies, to look good, to eat well, and to be happy. Now, there's some trends that I want to mention before we leave you today. These are some trends that I think are going to be not just for the near term, but I think they're going to be with us for a while. And these might present some opportunities for you and for your business. One is discount and online retail. Obviously, if you still have a bricks and mortar store and you're not online, your days may be numbered. I'm sorry to say that, but your days may be numbered. You are competing not against the brick and mortar store down the road, but against all the online retailers who got the jump on you and beat you to this. So don't hesitate. If there's still a chance for your survival, get online now. Figure out a way to make that happen. But discount and online retail, these are companies that are going to sell overruns. These are companies that are going to sell seconds, maybe imperfections. I've noticed that even Amazon, Staples, Office Depot have started selling bulk pens and pencils with other people's logos on them. It's just a mishmash of pens. But if your office needs pens, hey, they've got a 5-pound bag of pens for almost nothing. So be looking for opportunities to find those discounts and target people with the things that meet their budget. Supply chain resilience is an industry that I think is going to see some strength. Supply chain resilience just means companies that help things get delivered without disruption. We're getting ready to see that right now. I've already received this week numerous service bulletins from FedEx and UPS because of the storms coming up through the Gulf. This happens all the time in the Midwest. They have service disruptions because of tornadoes. Out west, they have wildfires, earthquakes, and other disasters that cause service disruptions. But it doesn't mean that stuff doesn't need to get to the final destination. And companies that step in and make sure those critical medical supplies, the medications, the foodstuffs, things that have to get delivered, get delivered. Hyper localization. We used to just call this buying local, right? But I think now you're going to see some trends in what's called reverse globalization. Because this is a global pandemic and supply chains are disrupted all over the world, everything from plastic toys made in China to shoes made in Italy to cars made in Germany, we're going to see continued disruptions. And so I think, like I was mentioning with the canning of homegrown goods, we're going to start to see people taking care of their own. We're going to see neighborhoods, communities, families taking care of each other. And that is the beginning of hyper localization. If I can build it for you and you can deliver it to me and we can barter and both of us win, that's a good situation. Especially in a rotten economy, that's one to watch. Look for areas where you can deliver, build, fix, repair, take care of, watch over, support businesses and individuals in your backyard. Virtual and augmented reality, I've already talked about. If I had an extra dollar to invest right now, I would probably put it into Apple, because Apple in the past couple of months has spent billions of dollars on virtual reality companies. Yeah, they're spending money like crazy to gobble up some of these smaller virtual reality companies. But if kids are going to be in school, in their homes, in 5 years, we don't know what's going to happen. They're going to feel like they're in a classroom full of other students. They're going to feel like the teacher is standing right there in front of them. They're going to have that augmented reality experience. That's where this is headed. You'll be able to grocery shop. This is Russ's prediction, by the way. Okay, so Russ is starting to make some predictions. You'll be able to go into your local grocery store and you'll be able to pick items off the shelf. But when you do it in a virtual world, when you touch that box of rice or that gallon of milk, it's going to go into your virtual shopping cart. And it's going to feel like you're shopping, but you're going to pick exactly what you want. And those things are going to be picked by somebody else and they're going to be delivered to you. That's where we're headed, folks. Experiential e-learning. This is more than me just talking to you. Experiential e-learning is where we're gonna be able to engage in an experience together. We're going to share that, and you're going to be able to share that experience with other people. If you have some knowledge, maybe you're a medical coder, maybe you're a transcriptionist, maybe you are an EMT. Maybe there's something that you have that you can teach. You know, it's going to be hard to teach individuals mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, CPR. But if we can figure out a way to do that through an experiential e-learning mechanism, we're going to keep people safe. And the last, nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to hear this. And I hate to say it, but robotics and mechatronics. There's been a fear for a long time that robots are going to take over the world. They're going to take all of the jobs. Not necessarily so. They may take your job, but that just means that your job now needs to be learning how to fix the robot. Warren Bennis, business professor at the University of Southern California, said 25 or 30 years ago that the factory of the future will only employ a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog, and the dog will be there to make sure the man doesn't touch any of the machines. I don't think we're going to get there. I think that was definitely a hyperbole. There are some There are some furniture factories in China that have very minimal people working in them. But really, who builds those machines? Who designs those machines? We do. So let's figure out a way to capitalize on that. I know that our local community colleges have robotics and mechatronics courses. If this is an opportunity for you, now is the time to jump on that. It's an opportunity that is going to be with us for a while. We're going to start finding robotics in restaurants, auto body shops, rescue operations, already seeing it in rescue and law enforcement operations. It's going to be there, but somebody's got to operate on them. Somebody's got to program them. Somebody has got to maintain them. Could that be you? Anyway, so that's a little mishmash of my thoughts on some things that I think are going to be with us for a while, some things that I think you should look at seriously to capitalize on so that you are in a better position to weather the next storm. And it's not a matter of if, but when. It will happen. It may not be as serious as COVID-19. It may not be as devastating as a localized storm, landslide, fire, flood, but it's coming. It's coming because this is life. It's what happens. So think about these things. And if there's any way that we can help you at Sequoia Fund, if there's any way that we can help direct you toward a program of education or towards some opportunities, if you're thinking about some of these opportunities, now is a great time to start a business. In the next episode, I'm going to talk to you about some businesses and some products that were designed in the middle of the Great Depression that are still with us today, and why that's important that we consider entrepreneurship even in tough times. I'll see you next time.